listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, hosted by Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, where he features successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey, I'm Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, and you're listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, where I feature successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. This episode is brought to you by Esq.Marketing. We help law firms generate more clients and cases using search marketing. And speaking of successful lawyers, today I have the pleasure of speaking with Katy Mickelson, partner at Beermann LLP, one of the largest divorce and family law firms in the state of Illinois. Katy has been practicing law for the past 15 years and has been named a rising star by Super Lawyers magazine and a super lawyer for 2021. She has also been recognized by Crain's Media's most notable women attorneys for 2018, had to get that out there, and a leading lawyer from 2015 to present. Katy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Take me back to the beginning, Katy, when you started working for Beermann. What was that like?
Well, so I would say that I started somewhat of the old-fashioned way. So I started as a law clerk. I was in law school. It was around between my second and my third year. Pounding the pavement, looking for law clerking positions. And I happened upon Beermann through mutual connection through a family member, and essentially went there and interviewed for a clerking position right from law school. And so what I was offered was an opportunity to start there in the summer and be able to work with family law attorneys. And at that time, Beermann was more of had multi-disciplines within the firm. So insurance, defense, business litigation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So in the attorneys I talked to, your story is sort of parallel, and then there are other stories where maybe they've worked for a law firm for a little bit and then they go off on their own. Is that kind of how it went for you? Like, did you clerk at Beermann and then have an opportunity to become an equity partner?
Yeah, so it's, I think I referenced this because what was interesting is that there's a lot of lateral movement these days. A lot of people don't stay in a law firm per se for a long period of time. So when I started as a law clerk, I was hired as a contract attorney, then associate, then became a senior associate, then became a junior partner, an income partner, and eventually made my way up to being an equity partner. So it was a 15-year process of sweat equity, putting in my hours and kind of rising from being a law clerk all the way to being an owner. So it's pretty unique for my firm. I'm the only owner that started out as a law clerk. So it was certainly something that I wouldn't say that a lot of attorneys normally go through that process, at least anymore.
Okay, that's very cool. And it's neat that you've been able to stay there for so long and grow within that organization. Were you ever involved in the process of bringing new business into the firm, or did that ever start at any point?
It really started from the beginning.
Okay.
From my perspective, you're good at what you do based upon your qualities as an attorney, but you never know when your next case is going to come in or when it's going to stop. So for me, business development has always been the forefront of what I've done. So it's been hammered into me since the beginning that I need to bring in cases, that I need to be a good business developer. And that also stems from me having worked in a prior career, because I was aware of the business world. I'm aware of, client development and client relationships, and how important that is to gaining trust and then having future business with those clients. So that gave me a unique insight in how to be not only a successful lawyer, but a successful business person.
I saw that in your bio about your career change, and you were in PR before, right?
It was. So prior to being a lawyer, I had somewhat of a different pathway. So when I graduated college from the University of Michigan, I wanted to work in public relations marketing. My degree was in sociology, and I thought it would be fun. I decided I would go into an agency. So for a period of 7 years, I worked at a variety of agencies in Chicago, doing mostly consumer products, public relations. Ended up in a very large worldwide agency my last few years, and was a group manager for that agency doing a lot of fun. I mean, media tours, product development, a lot of fun events, and a lot of writing. And so that was my 7-year career prior to leaving and going full-time to law school.
And I'm assuming, did that help you with like the business and marketing aspect of running a law firm? That kind of help prepare you for what that would be like?
Yeah, and it's part of it is running a law firm. Part of it is managing those who work for me, and kind of really being able to read who works for me, what their needs are, how do you encourage, faithful employees, really try to make the environment as pleasant as possible, because ultimately you're only as good as the people that work with you. And it's really, really important to create an environment where they want to come to work and they want to work for you. You want to create that loyalty. So it all I think has worked off of each other.
That's awesome. Can you tell me about a past failure or mistake that you had that led to your future success?
Oh, there's so many.
That's good.
Right. So for attorneys who say that they don't make mistakes, you should never believe them or hire them.
Those attorneys, man.
Right. So, I think one of the hardest things about being about bringing in your own business and running your own cases is identifying when a client is not the right fit. And it's, what's very important in when you want to practice successfully is having clients that subscribe to the same philosophy, that have, that are confident in your skills and are aligned in the strategy. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to agree with everything that you say, and it doesn't mean necessarily you agree with everything they say. But I had one particular experience with a client where my gut was telling me that this wasn't the right fit, but I decided to stay in. And, it was difficult because the client, this is the hard part, the client was paying me a lot of money. And, you don't necessarily want to walk away from a client that pays you a lot of money. But one of my favorite expressions is that client was taking up 80% of my brain space, not in a good way. And, it's what really it has taught me is, and I eventually withdrew from the case. And I think I woke up the next morning just feeling a weight off my shoulders. And what it really has taught me is that we're valuable, our work is valuable, and it doesn't necessarily mean that every client is a fit and is going to feel that same way.
That's so cool. I've never really had advice like that from a guest on the show because when you're starting out, you're starving, right? And you will take any client. I mean, I've felt the same way in our agency, just taking anyone on. But yeah, like if it's someone that just sucks all your time or sucks all your energy, yep, or like you said, is just not a good fit, then is it really worth having them on there, even if they are paying you a lot of money? So that's great advice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's only so much that you want to sell your soul for.
Yeah. Great quote. Next question here, rituals for success. So what's one practical thing that young attorneys just starting out should be doing every day or every week to kind of contribute towards their growth as a professional or the growth in their law firm?
Build relationships. So okay, the best thing that you can do is, being a lawyer is not just about writing a good brief or arguing in court. Until you have the trust of the individuals who are potentially going to hire you or refer you, you're not going to go anywhere. I mean, you could be the most intelligent attorney in the world, but you're only as good as your next client and then the reputation that you leave with past clients. So what's really important from my perspective is constantly building that credibility and that relationship with the people that can be your mouthpieces. If you don't have that credibility, if you don't have that support, and that's based upon really sound, good relationships with people built on trust and integrity, I don't think that you're going anywhere. So making it a priority to really have meaningful connections with people, that doesn't mean joining a networking group and canvassing the room and trying to get business cards handed out. It really means creating meaningful, long-standing, trusting relationships. And that can be done as easily as just sending an email and then having a cup of coffee or doing anything that requires that discussion and connection with other people.
I noticed in your bio that you're involved in a lot of women's associations and other associations related to the legal industry. Was that your conduit to build relationships and network?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple different reasons why I do that. One, it makes me feel more well-rounded, right? So while I love what I do and I find it really important to be a good lawyer and a credible lawyer, I think it's to make me a more well-rounded person. I certainly want to be able to be involved in organizations that I'm really passionate about. But the second thing really is that, I am involved in organizations, but I only do things where I'm all in. So I don't join an organization just to be a member and add it to my resume or add it to my experience. I'll be a leader. I'll organize and be make it so that I have the attention of those who I'm leading. So whether it be the chair of a group or leading a group of a business development group, that's really, really important to me, both as a professional and on a personal level.
What is one book you'd recommend every attorney going into private practice read for themselves?
So one of my New Year's resolutions, which we as all individuals and human beings do New Year's resolutions, but it is to read more. But what I've been doing is I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks, and I hadn't really necessarily been doing business books. But I do, people enjoy them and certainly. And I was referred to me to read a book or listen to a book by Chris Voss. He's a former FBI hostage negotiator. And he took it's called Never Split the Difference. And he took all of his skills that he learned in the psychology of negotiation and has applied it to business. And I have always subscribed to the philosophy of know what I know and know what I don't know. And one of the things that I've always tried to strive to be better at is negotiation, because it's one of the scariest things. You never know if you're coming in too high, too low. You don't want to have buyer's remorse. So what's been great about this book is it's really taught you to look at the strategy behind it and to be able to come into any situation and be able to negotiate. Doing family law, negotiation is fraught with emotion. So to have another skill to be able to do it and really look at it from a business perspective, I think puts you leaps and bounds beyond other family law attorneys and other practitioners in general.
That's a great book. I have not read it. I've heard about it. I know some of my mentors have read it and suggested it. I think I just made a note of it here. I think I'll check that one out. Yeah. But I like how you said that it gives you like an advantage and another perspective, which is pretty cool. Like not only in running your firm, but in working with your clients, it's neat that you're able to have a more well-rounded perspective, like you mentioned with your other activities as well. You've been listening to Katy Mickelson, partner at Beermann LLP. Katy, where can people go to learn more about the law firm?
I can be reached through a number of ways, through my website and my email address, which is K.H. Mickelson, that's Mickelson at beermannlaw.com. I can also be reached directly at 312-621-4382. And I'm always happy to answer questions and help out people and assist them in this highly contested area of law.
Thanks, Katy. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.